Hello, this is the Watchdog, and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today, we're going to review the Oumashi 813 homage to Patek Philippe 5711 Nautilus with the Tiffany dial. Let's start out with the wrist check. I'm wearing a mini focus MF0426G homage to a Omega Planet Ocean. And Grego is wearing my Pagani Design PD 1653, homage to a Rolex with lots of jewels and stuff on it. Grego ran into Jar Jar Binks the other day. He asked him what he was up to, and he said he adopted a Bothan child and named him after Anakin Skywalker. He calls him Little Bothan Annie. Here's the watch. It did not come in a box. I think the reason it didn't come in a box is this strap isn't very flexible, and they never could have laid it flat. This is the second Nautilus 5711 homage that I've had on my channel. The first was the quartz plated, which was a step or two below this Oumashi, and that was quite a while ago. A lot has happened to the Nautilus 5711 line since I reviewed that plated. Patek Philippe decided to do away with the 5711 because it was just too damn popular, and they were sick of people complaining that they couldn't get one. So they made it even more popular by releasing a hard-to-get green dial instead it was the last one. Well, after everyone went nuts for the green dial that no one could get, someone at Patek said, "Hold my beer," and they released a Tiffany version with a limited release of 50 watches. And the watch world went mad, and one of these $50,000 watches sold for $5 million at auction, which is 100 times suggested retail and a record for a non-vintage watch. This increased the popularity of other similarly colored dial watches, such as the turquoise blue Oyster Perpetual, which shot up in price and value. So I have been following the turquoise blue trend on my channel, as I have reviewed a turquoise blue Pagani Design OP homage and another Tudor Black Bay homage, even though Tudor doesn't make a turquoise blue one. Then I saw this Oumashi and said, why not? If you don't want to be a trend follower, there are white, black, and more traditional blue colorways. The watch is 39.5 millimeters if you measure at the bezel, 42.3 millimeters if you measure at these sides of the case. It is 12 millimeters thick, and lug width does not apply since it's an integrated bracelet, but it starts out at 24 millimeters and tapers down to 17 at the buckle. And it weighs 156 grams on the supplied bracelet with 2 links removed. The bezel is the porthole shape of a typical Nautilus with the coarse vertical brushing and polished sides. The dial is a teak dial with horizontal stripes. It has Oumashi printed in black on top and automatic on the bottom. There is no other writing on the dial. It has fully illumined applied indices. The indices are rather tall and substantial. You can really see them. They stick out pretty good. There's a chapter ring with black minute markers, fully illumined pencil hands, and a thin second hand with no lume. There is a borderless date window at the 3 with no cyclops. The date wheel is white, which is fine since it takes place of an index. The unsigned crown is a push-pull, and it has this dome to it, which the real Nautilus does not have. And it is not a screw down because there's no need for a screw down with only 50 meters of water resistance. And the crown guards here are not quite as large as the one on the real 5711. The crystal is a flat mineral glass and not sapphire, which means it's easier to scratch, but at least you can see through it without AR coating. The stainless steel case is mostly brushed with these polished tips on the side. The watch is only 12 millimeters thick, but since the crystal is flat and flush with the bezel, it doesn't look as thin as it sounds. It has a screw-down display case back with absolutely no writing. The case back shows off the Miyota 8215 with the stock rotor. The 8215 is a popular movement due to its price and reliability. It is a 3 Hz movement that ticks 6 times a second. It head-wise but does not hack. It has a unidirectional rotor. The lack of hacking makes it less popular than the comparable NH35. The 8215 uses an indirect sweep, meaning the watch can have a noticeable stutter at certain positions. The stutter does not affect the accuracy of the watch, but can be annoying to look at while admiring the smooth sweep of an automatic watch. Here it is on the time grapher. As you can see, it's running about 20 seconds fast. Normally I say, well, at least it's running fast, but in this case it's a non-hacking movement, so fast and slow doesn't really matter. As you can see, I'm changing positions and that really doesn't affect anything. It seems to be consistently about 20 seconds fast no matter what position I put it in. Also, you can see that the amplitude is quite low and there is a significant beat error. The bracelet is an integrated H-link with polished center links. There's also a little polish on the side of the links, but the sides themselves are not polished, just these little strips right here. But I really like the look of it. It's a nice effect. These are definitely solid steel links as the watch is quite heavy. The bracelet is fully articulating, meaning the center links are not attached to the H-links, but due to the design, it doesn't articulate very much. It's not very flexible, and this means it will not hug your wrist, and it can lead to having gaps around your wrist. It has push pin adjusters and not screw pin, and I bent a tool and broke a pin doing so. The butterfly clasp is a friction clasp. And it has this little fold over here. And once again, it's a friction clasp. There are no push buttons. But because of this fold over, you have to close it in this direction. I've never seen a butterfly with this fold over before. I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of that. I'd much rather have a push button. Here's the watch and my 7.5-inch wrist. As you can see, the case back's kind of tall, so it leaves some gaps on the edge. And once again, this bracelet just doesn't hug the wrist like most bracelets do. Here we are in the loom room. With the price of this watch approaching $100, good loom can be a possibility, as Bernie proved not too long ago with their sub homage. So I had pretty good hopes for this watch. But as we speed up the time, we see that the indices are not bad, but not great. But unfortunately, the hands are very weak and fade rather quickly. It doesn't do any good to see indices without hands. So the loom on this watch is fairly substandard. What do I like about this watch? Well, the dial is just stunning. It's just really nice looking dial. And I like the bezel and the case. It just looks very nice. And I like the fact that the indices are substantial. And I like these little polished edges on the bracelet. I think it really makes the bracelet look sharp. What are my gripes and groans? Fold over safety clasp instead of a push button. Plus, being a butterfly clasp, there's no micro adjust. The hand loom is much worse than the index loom. And this bracelet, even though it looks really nice, it's just not very flexible. Do I recommend this watch? Yes, it is a really nice looking watch, and that's what you're buying it for. You're buying it because you want something that looks like the Tiffany Nautilus, and this one sure does. And gripes and groans aside, I think you'll be pleased with this watch for the price. Well, thank you for watching my review of the Oumashi 813 homage to a Patek Philippe 5711 Nautilus with the Tiffany dial. And I will be back with another review or unboxing. Bye.